Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships and continuing the trend of giving you guys the top 5 most powerful ships out there for the rank battles. I'm going to take a look for the cruisers. So what do we have in the cruiser section at tier 9 for the Silver League? Well, there are a lot of good cruisers out there. It's very difficult to just recommend you guys in the top 5 because there are in fact more than 5 cruisers at least that are extremely powerful. But at least I have tried to analyze and researched it myself, and with my experience I figured out still the 5 top cruisers that you can play right now in the ranked battles, which I will be explaining them right now. So if you do like the content and if you do find this information useful, please like, share and even comment me down below what cruiser do you prefer for yourself in this ranked battle at tier 9. So with that said, let's talk about our number 5th ship, which I would say is going to be this interesting light cruiser, the Sejong, the Pan-Asian cruiser that I actually kinda really liked for many reasons. Well, first of all, Sejong can have a concealment go down to 9.8 kilometer, and then you have a torpedoes that are 12 kilometer, which simply means that if you want to spot the battleships out there, you can just do that. You can outspot them pretty heavily, and then you just send torpedoes as if you are a destroyer, which I would say is a very nice thing. But again, on top of that, it still does have a smoke. So if you get spotted by a destroyer, then you can just smoke up, and if there's a battleship that is pushing you and a destroyer, your allied destroyer that can spot that battleship, with that spotting, you can just farm them with these really good guns that you have. 12 of them. Now these guns have pretty decent HE/DPM, but again these are lower caliber guns. The shell velocity is not the best, like the shell arcs are out there, but at least at around 13 to 14 kilometers they could be a bit like arcier, but still manageable against battleships. Maybe against cruisers it could be a bit difficult, but again you have a disengaging power which is going to be the smokes. So if the cruiser is trying to push you and you can smoke up and you can farm that back in return, it will give Sejong a huge advantage. Now, another advantage that Sejong gets that I was talking before with the concealment and the torpedoes is going to be you have deep water drops. 12 kilometer torpedoes, 8 on each side. So you have a lot of torpedoes, and the reload time is also pretty decent at 125 seconds. You can even improve it if you want to. I mean, that's totally up to you if you want to have a gun build, fully reload mod, gun build, or the torpedo build. I would kind of prefer the gun build / torpedo build from the captain skill. Like you can always put the main battery mod 3 for the improvement on guns, and then you can also improve the reload time or maybe the speed of the torpedoes with the help of captain skill. That would work, I would say, very nice. So with these torpedoes, these are really like good because they are deep water drops, and they will just gonna hit those cruisers and battleships if they don't have hydro. Like the reaction time is little to no at 4.5 seconds. And I'm telling you, since you do have access to reload booster, I kind of find it extremely good, especially against battleships that are pushing towards you. You have smoke, you can farm them back with this really good HE/DPM, and you can also send torpedoes to get so many damage numbers ticking by just getting flood that Sejong kind of really makes it pretty easily at number 5 for me. You have heals, but I mean at cruisers at tier 9 you will have heals, but again you have a lot of things on the sleeves, right? The only thing about the Sejong that kind of makes it not super game impacting is going to be the take on destroyers. The Sejong does not have a radar, right? And that's the biggest thing of the Sejong that I would say is lacking. Also, it does not have access to hydro. So again, if you are in smoke and the destroyer love to torpedo you there, well, you have a good chance of hitting them simply because, well, you don't have hydro to even realize that they are coming in the first place. But yeah, apart from that, the guns will definitely gonna give you a lot of damage. Your fire chance is 9%, which is very nice. Yeah, I mean, you can even improve it with the captain skills. If you want to, you can get it to like 11%, sort of, at least something like that. So that is really impressive. You can, I mean, if I put the fire flags, you can already see that you can have a 10% fire chance. And if you have a special captain, I think that special captain that gave you 1.5% more fire chance, this fire chance can go easily to 11.5%, which I would say is very, very impressive, considering the shells that you are throwing and with, you know, decent reload time and everything that it has going for it. So yeah, this ship is definitely a worthy at number 5. At number 4, I would say this Riga, which is a Russian tier 9 heavy cruiser, is one of those cruisers that are actually it's actually very tanky. As you can see here, I would recommend you guys Riga at number 4 simply because of this armor. There are not a whole lot of cruisers that have this sort of armor. 35 millimeter, 35 millimeter here, and you also have this side armor that is, even though very vulnerable to get citadel. Like your citadel is a bit large, as you can see here, but again, if you stay angled, which you should be in a cruiser, then you will be able to tank a lot of battleship shells. Like even the Musashi, the Georgia that have very high caliber AP, they won't be able to overmatch you, except maybe they can just do damage on the superstructure, which even though is relatively big, but again, the overall armor profile is so still good that it kind of still makes up for it. And I really like that it has a icebreaker 40 millimeter, which means that it's going to be very difficult, almost nigh impossible to get citadel from the bow. So that is also a huge thing for me for the Riga. You also have very, very good guns, 220 millimeter. Now the AP pen is not like Petro, which we all know that how Petro is absurd with its insane AP pen. But Riga still have very easy chance to even citadel light cruisers at even long ranges, and even battleships at medium to close ranges. At least at close ranges, you will find Riga guns to be very reliable in getting citadels. So the pen is still pretty decent. The fire chance on the HE shells is still good, but again, HE is not something that it has the speciality. It's the AP that we always have to talk about, and AP of the Riga, just like I said, very, very good. Now the TPM wise, it's not going to be really impressive. You can see here already the HE TPM, just like I said, it's pretty anemic. You don't have anything else going for it, other than maybe a couple of things. That is radar, hydro. Now radar again, I will be explaining cruisers here and putting in this list because the radar is extremely important if you want to have high game impact, because you can take down destroyers. And then you also have radar, which can also counter destroyers. And you have heals, which kind of makes up for the very, very good survivability even better. Makes it pretty much easy for me at number 4. Your concealment might not be looking that impressive. Otherwise, even still, then you can have concealment down to very close to that of your radar, which is also very, very good at 12 kilometer, but only 15 seconds. So even then, I mean, even it has a 15 seconds of radar, I still find it very, very nice that you can spot TDs for at least 20 seconds if you have a captain skill on the Riga, as well as you have the surveillance radar mod 1 that can increase it to 20 seconds. But that still give you two shells, at least two I would say two volleys to throw on a destroyer, which is, I would say, pretty good. So I would say if you want to have a tanky cruiser, which is a tech tree one, which you can grind it right now for free, you can get it at number 4. At number 3, we have this coal cruiser, sort of heavy cruiser because of its hull profile. As you can see, you have 27 millimeter armor for this Tulsa, and it's a coal ship, just like I said, is highly recommend to play in this ranked battle season, simply because they also have recently buffed one of the very bad things about the Tulsa, which they have buffed, is the dispersion. Now the Tulsa used to have cruiser dispersion on 6 of these guns, which again, you have 2 turrets and 6 of them in total, kind of makes the shells a bit wonkier if you throw onto maybe destroyers that you have popped up by radar. Like for example, Tulsa does have a radar, which I would say very impressive. 46.2 seconds of radar, 9.5 kilometer concealment, and 9 kilometer radar means that, well, there's a very, very good chance to just catch destroyers off guard. And if you catch them, you have now a destroyer dispersion, not cruiser dispersion, which kind of makes the effective DPM that it has, I would say, better, right? It used to have a bit worse sort of cruiser DPM, even though cruiser DPM is still very good, but again, the shell amounts, the shell amount that you are throwing compared to the Des Moines are a bit low, and since you have 2 turrets tend to have the shells dispersion a bit wonky. I don't know. This is a lot of sort of experience by my side that I have done, or at least have tried on Tulsa, and I find the guns a bit reliable if you pop the radar against destroyer. But now with the destroyer dispersion that you are getting now, and if you catch them in radar, you started to see that you can counter destroyers a lot much more effectively, and even farm cruisers or battleships a lot much more powerfully, because of you have the Des Moines guns, right? You have the improved AP ricochet angles, Des Moines AP angles, like whatever you call it. The AP, as it always been very, very impressive, and you have it on Tulsa, and your HE is also very good in gun performance. HE pen is 34 millimeter, so you cannot go wrong with it. Your range is pretty good at 14.9 kilometer, and since you can pretty much use islands as cover very, very effectively, this is one of the things that kind of makes it better than Buffalo, I would say, that you are not going to be losing that much DPM if you are using Tulsa. Tulsa has what? Des Moines levels of reload time. Like, what is the reload time? It has 5.1 seconds of reload time with the reload mod. And well, the thing about the Tulsa is that you have front turrets, two turrets, or at least in total you have 4 guns that are located on the bow. Compared to Buffalo's 12 guns, which might look a bit impressive, but you have half of the turrets at the back and half of the turrets on the front. So what makes Tulsa good is that you can hug the islands, and then you still retain 66% DPM of the total gun performance that you have. You can still use it on any ship while staying undetected if you use perfectly island as a cover. In the case of Buffalo, you cannot do that. You have to lose 50% of DPM simply because you have the back turrets on the back, obviously. So yeah, that's the biggest value thing that Tulsa gives you for enjoying in ranked battles and doing a lot of good damage in performance. And since, just like I said, you have radar, you have hydro, so you can just do pretty well, and you can just farm a lot of battleships with this really good DPM that you have. 197k DPM is decent. I mean, the Buffalo might have slightly better. As you can see here, you have 201k, but it's not too far. I mean, reload mod can give slightly bit of an edge to Buffalo, but even then, just like I said, the advantage still goes to Tulsa because of the front location of the turrets. More damage that you can pump from the front turrets is better. Alternatively, I would say if you are looking to get another cruiser, but it's a very rare cruiser, I don't think so you can have it other than the loot boxes, unfortunately. You can also take out the Kozma Minin. It's simply a way better version of what Dawn Square really is. Dawn Square is a tech 3 cruiser, Tier 9. Kozma Minin is a premium sort of Dawn Square version, except that it has 8 guns, but having better reload time and having some good speciality with really decent AP, decent HE, having improved HE pen, which again, because these are sort of German characteristics in terms of gun performance, and also they have given the speed boost, the radar, the Soviet radar 12 kilometer, again very, very impressive. Hydro, heal, good HP pool, really makes it very strong cruiser. You have decent range at 18.5 kilometer, actually better than Dawn Square. You have the speed boost, just like I said, so you have the better speed juking capabilities compared to Dawn Square. So I think it's gonna go very toe to toe with Tulsa. So I don't think so that you can go wrong with any of this cruiser. Tulsa is widely available, easily available for coal. Kozma Minin is just gonna do a lot much. It's like having a Russian characteristics and German characteristics that you can have in these guns. And then you have a radar like Russian, torpedoes as well that you cannot find in Tulsa, giving you a lot much more flexibility in close ranges, having more torpedo alpha than Dawn Square. So with these things, except for the concealment, that can be a downgrade compared to the Tulsa, but again, it still has some good upsides like radar. It really makes it pretty good, like toe to toe as a contender compared to Tulsa, at least at number 3. At number 2, well, this is pretty much obvious. I'm sure you guys expecting this heavy cruiser, and well, Alaska is going to be there. It's very special cruiser. It's very good in ranked battles, and certainly very, very powerful at the same time. Alaska have still, even though it got released many years ago, still have many things going for it. Again, just like Tulsa, it's like a heavier version of Tulsa. You have 6 guns on the front, 3 guns on the back, 9 of them, and then you have a really good reload time at 20 seconds, considering they are 305mm guns compared to 203mm guns that you find on Tulsa. Now, the DPM might not look that bad, but at least it's still going to be low. But again, here comes the best part about the Alaska, and that is that it has 51mm of HE pen because of 305mm caliber, which means that you can pen the decks of, for example, like the Frederick de Grosse, the German battleships out there, some maybe the, like, what do I call it, the Italian battleships. So yeah, you can just actually able to penetrate their decks. Again, increasing the HE DPM performance sort of effectively or practically I would say, compared to maybe Tulsa. Like you will get some shatters out there on some areas if you shoot at armor, but in the case of Alaska, you will going to get more penetration. But here comes the interesting part of the Alaska that still makes it really powerful cruiser. In fact, I am rating it at number 2 because of this, and that is going to be its AP performance. Its AP performance against those cruisers, if they show broadside with this 9.3K alpha, is pretty devastating. You can actually able to chunk them maybe 25% of their HP, 50%, or even sometimes even 100% of their HP, def striking them back by having also the battle cruiser dispersion and 2.01 sigma. Tulsa has destroyed dispersion right now, but Alaska has battle cruiser dispersion, which is not too bad at all. The accuracy I felt when I shoot the guns, even in today's ranked battle, or at least this ranked battle season when I played Alaska, feels extremely accurate, at least compared to Kronshtadt, which I will explain it a bit later. So Alaska with very good HP at 63,000, concealment at 12.2 kilometer could be a bit lacking, but again, I feel that since you do have a radar, so you can counter destroyers back if they keep spotting you, and then 46.2 seconds, again just like Tulsa, but way much more tankiness that you get in return. Again, kind of having a bit better profile, or at least armor than Tulsa, slightly better, not too much better. You have still 27mm armor, 28mm armor side. The improvement comes from the Alaska is going to be from deck. The deck armor, look at that. 36mm deck means that it's going to be very difficult to overmatch if you are kind of bowing in, except if they shoot on the bow. The ships like 406mm caliber battleships, they can simply overmatch you, and that's one of the things that I don't like about the Alaska. You do have a citadel, so I mean it's not like it might looks like to be below waterline, as you can see here, but still I really able to get citadel a lot if you show broadside, so don't do that. But even then the citadel is sort of well protected if you are angled, at least compared to Tulsa. Tulsa has slightly above waterline citadel, as you can see here. So again, the gun performance is amazing. You have Des Moines AP angles. I mean, with these 305mm guns, way better pen, AP pen, HE pen. The AP performance is such that you can actually citadel battleships at 7, 8, 10 kilometers if they are keen to show broadside. So that's the reason why Alaska feels very powerful. You have a counter against destroyers with the help of radar, so it just feels very powerful even today with these guns at number 2. A lot of players might not agree with Kronshtadt, but I don't know why they rate Kronshtadt a bit lower than Alaska. At least in my opinion, Kronshtadt seems to be a lot much more powerful than Alaska. Many reasons for that. At number 1, I would rate Kronshtadt simply because, again, the survivability is, I would say, kinda a lot higher than Alaska. Alaska has like 63,000 HP, and Kronshtadt has 74, almost 75k HP, which is kind of crazy for a heavy cruiser. Like for a cruiser, getting 75k HP is insane, and it's not funny, right? Now Alaska is also very impressive. There's no doubt about that. But Kronshtadt simply gets, I would say, tier 10 levels of, or maybe tier 11 levels of survivability. There's no cruiser out there at even tier 10 that having that good of a survivability. Maybe the exceptions like Stalingrad and the Puerto Rico, they're having very similar levels of HP, but Kronshtadt at tier 9 having that concealment, at the HP pool that it can get. And also the torpedo protection is very impressive, 34% compared to Alaska's 13%. So it's pretty tanky, right? Even against the torpedoes of destroyers. And that's one of the very interesting things that Kronshtadt gets. Now you don't have a hydro like Alaska, like Kronshtadt does not have hydro. It's, I think, kind of a biggest downside, I would say. Like you cannot spot destroyers, spot the torpedoes, or at least cannot spot destroyers as well at close ranges if you don't have radar. But at least what Kronshtadt has special over Alaska is the spotting aircraft. In fact, it is very interesting to see that you have a spotting aircraft with a radar and having already very impressive main battery firing range of 18.2 kilometer. With this spotting aircraft, you can pretty much get it up to like 22 kilometers of firing range for at least 130 seconds? Yeah, 130 seconds of duration. So yeah, you can have insane spotting aircraft range, like improved range at 22 kilometers. Then you also have a Soviet 12 kilometer radar for 33 seconds. The base radar time is 25, but you can improve it to 33 seconds. Then you have heals, which again kind of perform a lot better than other heals, even though they are not a super heal, simply because your HP is so high that since the healing potential is based on percentage of the total amount of HP that cruiser, battleship, or destroyer get, in return you will be getting more HP increase, or you will see you will be able to see that you will have more healing power because of the total amount of HP pool that Kronshtadt has. So with this, with the nuclear Kuznetsov, which is completely insane, you're getting an extra DCP and also getting a bit of more heal, and then you can also get a first blood. So you can potentially think of like getting 5 heals if you kill a destroyer, maybe via radar. I mean, you get 5 heals. Maybe Kuznetsov give you extra heal if you are below 10%. Then you can already see why Kronshtadt, I feel, started to get a lot much more better. Nikolai Kuznetsov really makes it way more better than I would say Alaska with Halsey, because Halsey is very difficult to proc, because Halsey needs like I think more than 10% or 20% sort of damage across 6 ships. Kronshtadt does not need any of these requirements. If you get a first blood, which I would say very, very highly likely in ranked battles because of the radar, or maybe because of the gun performance, which I haven't even got to it, it just simply makes it super, super tankier. And I haven't even talked about the armor profile, which they have buffed it as well. Like, it used to have 25mm armor, but since that IFHE rework, they managed to make Kronshtadt armor 27mm, which I would say is very, very equivalent to that of Alaska. Now, Alaska might have better deck armor, but again, the bow armor is still 27 and 28, which means that it is still going to get overmatched by 406mm guns, and Kronshtadt is not too far, except the bow might be a bit more vulnerable than many other battleships or cruisers out there. Sorry, many other cruisers out there like Alaska. So yeah, that's one of the weakness of the Kronshtadt. But the strength of the Kronshtadt lies on this insanely thick 230mm armor belt that if you can easily able to tank battleship shells, I think this would be the way. You just simply angle enough, and if you bait the battleship shells hitting here, then you will simply bounce everything. Like, it's it's pretty good. Now you can do that with Alaska, but again, a bit less probability, but that's what I have felt or experienced during playing the ranked battles with Kronshtadt or Alaska. I haven't even talked about the guns. The guns of the Soviet, these guns, like, they will just perform so insane. The shell velocity is some of that of Stalingrad. Like, Stalingrad has insane shell velocity, shell arcs. The flight time is so good that even long ranges, you will have easy time shooting or at least getting hits onto the target. Whereas Alaska are going to feel a lot much more arcier or at least slower shells at least 17 or 18 kilometers. At that range, the Alaska shell will be a bit slower, or at least significantly slower, at least compared to Kronshtadt. So shell velocity is really good. The AP is also so good. Like, AP performance, the AP penetration is so good that you can actually citadel battleships at around 15 kilometers if they are flat broadside. The AP pen is actually better than Petropavlovsk. Now, Petro is also pretty absurd, and they have improved the HE pen to make it interesting, but Kronshtadt with 305mm guns have insane AP as well. I mean, you have to test it if you have it, and you will definitely say that AP will just do so good. Because of the impact angle that you are shooting onto a broadside battleship is also going to be very, very less. The angle, like, the shells are not archy, so the impact angle will be lower, and that's the reason why that you are going to get a lot much more citadels onto those broadside battleships as well. But on the other hand, you can get some I would say overpens on cruisers, at least at close ranges if they are broadside. So this is a bit of a downside because it does not have anything special like Petro guns that have reduced arming threshold or something like that, and nor it does not have improved AP angles like those that you find on Alaska. But other than that, these guns will punch. The fire chance is good at 24%. Alpha damage is good. AP alpha is better than Alaska, like 9.4k versus 9.3k. Pretty much similar, but slightly better is still good. So this is the reason why Kronshtadt is really good. Your concealment is very good. You have 12 kilometer radar. You have a lot much more better chance to catch destroyers, simply because the destroyer is going to have only 0.7 kilometer of area where they will realize that Kronshtadt is pushing them and then can radar them. Whereas in the case of Alaska, you have 2.2 kilometer sort of area for a destroyer or a room where they have to figure it out whether they should push in to the radar of Alaska or they just kite back once they spot the Alaska. So Kronshtadt again feels a lot much more powerful with this 12 kilometer radar and concealment combo. And maneuverability is also, I would say, very much roughly similar. I don't see much of a difference in the Kronshtadt or Alaska's speed or I like the turning circle or the rudder shift. They're pretty much similar. Maybe the rudder shift is slightly on the higher side. That's where Alaska is a bit better, but even then, I didn't felt much of a difference. But still, overall, with this insanely better survivability, I would say, compared to Alaska, really good armor against 380mm guns for sure. And since, well, you have really good torpedo protection with this gun performance, with this amazing radar, I would simply have to rate Kronshtadt at number 1. I mean, you have to play it. Now, again, the complaint about the people is its dispersion. Now, its dispersion is not good. It has battleship dispersion, unlike Alaska's battlecruiser dispersion. But again, your reload time is better than Alaska at 18.5 seconds versus 20 seconds. So this is still a big difference, right? This is almost like 10% difference if you really look at the mathematical numbers compared to Alaska's 20 seconds. 18.5 seconds is still going to be better. And then you can always put a reload mod, improving it to 16.3 seconds. Again, very, very nice for these guns with these really insane Soviet shell velocity guns at number 1. There are still going to be some cruisers out there that are, I would say, I will rate them as honorable mentions, especially this Chikuma 2. If you somehow manage to maybe spend some steel or maybe get it from the Santa golden container, this Chikuma 2 is actually pretty interesting. It's a hybrid cruiser, and I kind of like the fact that you can spot for your own self while staying in smoke, and you do have something like Shimakaze torpedoes, which having 15 kilometer range at 60 knots. So the reaction time is a bit worse than Shimakaze because of the torpedo speed at 60 knots. But again, these torpedoes are amazing. 15 kilometer having these torpedoes means that if you able to land 2 or 3 torpedo hits, you're going to chunk battleships extremely hard, especially for a cruiser, right? And I don't know if I built it for I didn't even build it for torpedo damage. So you can imagine, because the destroyer does not have this skill, you can increase the torpedo damage even further, like crazy. It's gonna be like 2.6 or 2.7k damage. This torpedo gonna be hitting like an absolute truck. So Chikuma with the guns, 8 of them, the reload time might not be impressive compared to Ibuki. Ibuki have more guns, I would say, but again, it does not have survivability like Chikuma 2 does. At least Chikuma 2 have smokes, and then you have the torpedo squadron that have really good torpedo damage, 7.2k, 2 torpedoes that you can send onto a target, and you can actually load 2 squadrons at the same time. So if you somehow manage to launch a 2 squadron plane, you can again launch another plane if you maybe waited it for more than 102 seconds or more than that time. So you can have 2 squadrons rather than 1 squadron, which is like very impressive. As you can see here, aircraft on deck is 4. So you can have 4 planes of the Chikuma 2, which is another impressive thing. Smokes, just like I said, concealment, can get down to like 8.9 kilometers, something like that. Very, very impressive concealment. Then you also have a hydro, so it does not mean that if you are in Sejong, you are going to get torpedoed by destroyers simply because you can just simply spot them by hydro. And you have some reason having 5 heels. Again, I don't know. Usually cruisers have 4 heels. Sejong has 5 heels, which is very nice. For example, if I look at the Alaska, look at the heels. You have 4 heels. Chikuma 2 have, for some reason, having more heels, which again is a very, very nice thing. HP pool is pretty nice, 45,000. So Chikuma 2, if you use it correctly, with the guns, with the smoke combo, with the heels that you have, you can actually have a good time. Especially you will have a slightly better game impact than many other cruisers that don't have radar, simply because of the torpedoes that you can use, or torpedo bombers that you can use against destroyers to spot them for a very long time. Especially the likes of Jaeger. Jaeger's gonna get spotted for eternity with these torpedo bombers. You're just gonna directly counter Jaegers like this if they're very close. So I think Chikuma 2 definitely deserves to be an honorable mention. Okay, with that said, I will probably end the video here. If you have any questions, please let me know. What are your cruiser picks in this ranked battle season? I'm sure there are some good cruisers out there as well, apart from the ships that I have mentioned or I have explained. I'm sure there might be some ships out there that you would like to maybe talk about in the comment section, so that the other players might get even more valuable information from you. So if you do find it useful, and if you do like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And till then, guys, peace out and take care.